Hello, everyone. I'm always so excited when we get to have someone great on the show like Isabelle Hau today. She's with us from Omidyar Network. She's an investment partner over education. This is really a unique and special opportunity. If you have kids, if you know any kids, you understand how vitally important this is. So stick around. You don't want to miss this episode.
Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show with your champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
This episode is made possible via the support of our sponsors, including Johnson & Johnson's Caring Crowd. Isabelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin, for having me.
Oh, it's entirely our honor and privilege, and we really appreciate you making the time to join us today for this important conversation. Now, recently you published a new report about early childhood education and childcare. There's so much in that report. We could spend hours just talking about it. But as you now reflect back on that report, it's been out for a little while now. What are the key takeaways? What are the things that really matter that we can pull from that report?
Yeah, so we are, what I think is what we are at a tipping point in early childhood, a very interesting time. There has been a lot of research and science over the past few decades on the importance of early childhood. We now know that 90% of the brain is being formed by age 3 or age 4, so in the very early years. We also have a lot of evidence about the economic benefits of investing in early years as one of the greatest returns societally. What the report showed is that there is a new wave of both supply and demand in early childhood, which makes this current timing particularly exciting. On the demand side, we have demand from a new wave of parents, those millennials, those Gen Z parents. 71% of those parents are looking online for parenting tips these days. The government, the public is also demanding new ways and investing in these early years. Certainly around me in California, the new governor is just announced some big plans in early childhood, just as an example. Employers also are moving into childcare and looking for solutions in childcare. A very exciting recent example is Starbucks that announced in Q4 of last year that they were offering subsidized childcare for all their employee base, which is very exciting. And then we also have, maybe the last point is that we have a new face of children. We have a new majority minority, if you'd like, where for the first time, kids entering kindergarten have a majority of them are non-self-declared as white, which is very interesting in a very interesting new reality of the classroom and early childhood. And on the supply side, we are seeing a new wave of entrepreneurs that are looking at those problems in different ways. And all of this makes it a very interesting moment in early childhood.
What do you see as being Omidyar Network's role in advancing issues around early childhood education?
Yeah, so when we looked at the landscape of funders and stakeholders in early childhood, which, by the way, is a massively underfunded age group relative to K-12 or higher education, and certainly education, I would argue, is also underfunded relative to other issues, but certainly early childhood is underfunded. So just the mere fact to have another philanthropic funder in early childhood is a positive thing. But looking at the landscape of other funders, we saw an opportunity to partner with others who are doing some great work on policy and advocacy to bring more public funding into early childhood, which is very much needed. and add from our perspective a lens on quality and innovation. So saying, what if we were to bring new talent, new capital, new ideas into early childhood? Would that be additive and complementary to the great work that others have been doing in the field?
Yeah. You've had a remarkable career. Harvard MBA, 10 years at Morgan Stanley, and a stint at Impact Assets, and then your experience with Omidyar Network, really impressive and tremendous opportunities. But you have credited in recent weeks, since this report came out, the opportunity you had as a young child to have some quality pre-kindergarten education. Tell us a little bit about how it relates to the data you're seeing in your current role.
Great question. So I was just wrapping up reading Michelle Obama's biography, which beautiful, beautiful book.
Yes, it is.
And in her conclusion chapter, she has this beautiful sentence that says, "I'm an ordinary person on an extraordinary journey." And frankly, I feel this sentence resonated for me and for my career. I feel like I am an ordinary person on an extraordinary journey. And of course, I'm not a first lady. My husband is not a politician. So the analogy stops there. But in reflecting about what brought me here from my very humble beginnings in a rural area in the south of France, a lot of it has to do with some competencies that I acquired very early on in my trajectory. Certainly these quality, social emotional skills that we refer to in early childhood and in K-12 and in higher ed and in lifelong learning, I feel like they were acquired in very early years for two means. One is the chance and the opportunity I had around having a loving family, and two, having access to high quality childcare from very young age, and then access to a high quality public free preschool at the age of 2.5. And those experiences have really shaped me throughout my life.
As you look at the data in this report, where do you think the biggest levers are? Where can we make the biggest changes especially in the United States, but elsewhere around the world? This isn't just a US problem, but what can we change most quickly to have the biggest impact?
I would say there are probably two areas, but I will maybe answer with the greatest one in my mind, which is the very, very early years. We think about, at Omidyar Network, we invest from birth to 5, but I would say the earliest we can start this work, the better it is. And in particular, birth to 3 is still in the US an age group that is very much very much invisible in many ways. And so how can we create better childcare solutions that would benefit not only the child, but also the parents and the care providers as a means for economic empowerment? So I see a great opportunity for the US as a nation to do more there.
There is an interesting data set in the report about that, the gap in vocabulary beginning to emerge in children as early as 18 months. What are the kinds of things that we can and should be doing to close that gap, which gets rather large by age 3. What are the sorts of things we can do to close those gaps?
So because those gaps tend to occur very early, as you know, Devin, the best interventions are, so either in those childcare settings, if the child is in a childcare setting, or more often at home with the parent. So helping the parent understand that this is a critical age group and a critical age for from a learning perspective is very important, and helping and supporting the parent in doing so most parents want to be the best parents, if not all parents want to do the best parents. So helping them in new ways is really interesting. So we support, for example, an organization called Ready for K that sends text messages to parents, helping them with little reminders and tips and activities. It's a very simple solution at the end of the day, yet it's been demonstrated to have 2 to 3 months literacy improvement in those children for the parents that receive the text messages. So there are simple ways and simple things we can do. They are not the answer to all of the literacy gap, but certainly leveraging where the new parents are and helping them and supporting their efforts is a great way to do so.
Isabelle, as you reflect on your career, and it has been remarkable, what are you most proud of having accomplished?
So very proud of having deeply thought about collaboration. I think when I think about collaboration, either internally within my organizations that I worked at or externally, so building empowering others and together in achieving greater impact.
More importantly, you've had this great career. What's the most important lesson you've learned?
And that maybe getting back to this collaboration point. I love this African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And that's certainly the biggest lesson. I'm an impatient by nature, which I think is a good thing in many cases. But leveraging this power of collaboration and partnerships to achieve and learn from others or learn together in seeking to address some of those very complex, intricate issues is critical.
So, Isabelle, as you think about this incredible work that you're doing now, the difference that you're making, it's easy at one level to understand why you would choose to do this, but at the same time, you had a phenomenal Wall Street career charging ahead at Morgan Stanley. Why have you chosen to focus your career for the last nearly decade on impact?
So I think there may be just a personal aspiration to have call for meaning that's deeply personal, that has transcended throughout my career and my life, may not have been as obvious on my resume in the early years, although I was very involved already then in many impactful activities. But certainly in the most recent decade, wanting to dedicate my life for an impact and a sense of meaning for my own life toward that.
Oh, that's great. Isabelle, what is your superpower?
My superpower, diplomacy.
A classic French skill. Your French roots are coming home to help you with that one. That's great. Well,
Devin, a hidden one is Kung Fu.
Oh, well, that is a helpful combination of superpowers. So thank you. Well, listen, Isabelle, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. This has been a really important discussion. I know people that to hear this discussion will be interested to get a copy of your report. How would you coach people to get a copy of that, and how can people connect with you personally?
So you can access a report that's entitled Big Ideas, Little Learners on our website at omidyar.com. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @volcuckoo, which is not intuitive, but a fun one, a fun handle. And our Omidyar Network handle is Omidyar Network.
Fantastic. Well, again, Isabelle, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We wish you every success in improving early childhood education with your great work there at Omidyar Network.
Thank you, Devin, for having me.
All righty. Let's do some good.
At Caring Crowd, we believe everyone has the power to make a difference. Through our crowdfunding platform for community health, we empower passionate people to drive real change. Whether you work for a nonprofit organization, volunteer, or want to get involved for the first time, you can post a campaign on Caring Crowd. Join us, because caring is where change begins.
Thank you for listening. Devin Thorpe's mission is to end extreme poverty, improve global health, and mitigate climate change before 2045 by finding and sharing the stories of those who are doing the most good. You can join with other listeners to accelerate Devin's mission by visiting helpdevin.org right now.